At PMC, Peel Multicultural Council, my job is to supervise settlement workers. It's a team of settlement workers. They speak diverse languages. Then we do have job search workshop and community connections where internationally trained professionals are linked up to with Canadian professionals. So these are 3 programs that I supervise within my role at PMC.
And so can you tell us a bit about why newcomers come to you for help?
Oh, that's pretty interesting because we are the first point for them where they can come to seek help. But the fact also remains that studies have shown that at least about 50% newcomers, they never access a settlement organization's services during their lifetime of settlement and integration in Canada. So that's another part of the discussion, but those who, about 50% that they actually come to us, we mean, we hold lots of importance in their life because I tell you what, from a different perspective, we do have a partnership which was driven by IRCC of all the organizations, settlement organizations that work in Peel and Halton. And this partnership decided to do a list of things that settlement workers can do and cannot do. So we said it's going to be a do's and don'ts list. I was part of that committee that was assigned to come up with this list, and we found that there was hardly anything that we cannot do for them. Right from a person who needs to know how to navigate a transit system to somebody, say for example, that's an extreme, that somebody has committed a murder. If they come to you, you cannot drive them out. You have to serve them. You have to provide them right information. So only thing that we found we cannot do is something David spoke to, that how our funders would put limitations on us and what they would expect us to do, and sometimes we understand that, and at times we don't want to understand it.
Right. So we talked a little bit about this yesterday. When newcomers come to you and they have a legal problem, what kinds of help are they looking for? And then, if you want to comment on, or those types of requests, where do you feel comfortable, confident helping them with their request?
I guess it starts with the level of trust they have in their settlement workers. Because our first priority is to assign a settlement worker who comes from the same cultural background. So we have a range of settlement workers who speak Hindi, Punjabi, Pashto, Chinese, both Chinese, Mandarin, Spanish, you name it, all those languages. So our job is to, so that there is a level of trust that they confide their issues. Until they tell us their story, we are not able to provide solutions to them. And as I said, it's a whole range of issues they discuss, and they discuss in confidence. And in terms of legal issues, extreme example would be, we are seeing influx of refugees, right? Now, one family of refugees, they still are in this temporary refugee reception center in Mississauga, and we work very closely with that organization. And it so happens that one child, it's a family of, they have 8 to 10 children, and one child is suffering from autism, and another one who was approaching age of adulthood got in conflict with the law. They have no connections in the community. They have nobody to support them. The only support or somebody who can hold their hand is the settlement worker. They would want them to let them know everything they can rely on.
Yes.
And and then there is a sense of integrity for the settlement worker as well, that because they get emotionally involved with the family. You have seen their situations, and then even while at back of your head you know that you cannot do certain things, but then you know their vulnerability, and you know that now they are in such. So being there, I guess what brings us into this situation is that it becomes very difficult to detach yourself until we are extremely well trained and there are resources which are not there. There are not as many professional development opportunities as there should be.
Yes. Well, so I want to hear more about that. Going back to the question of, so when this family comes to you that you described and they have legal problems, can you just tell us sort of more specifically what tasks you perform in helping them with their legal problems? Do you go to meetings with lawyers with them? Do you help them draft affidavits, declarations? What kinds of services do you provide, and how comfortable are you providing those?
Again, there is those positions that are funded by IRCC, we are not supposed to provide any, even we are not supposed to fill out forms for them. There's a strict eligibility criteria, but it's pretty different what money comes to us from MCI, or Ministry of Citizenship Immigration of Ontario, right?
Because then you can do what?
Yeah, in that case, to a certain extent, we can help them filling out forms. We can, right? Yeah. But in another case, we can only just provide them information, or we can guide them. And with this, in this case, yes, we have that ability to a certain extent. But coming back to your question, supposing every settlement organization, at least I know from my experience in Peel and Halton, have got 1 or 2 oath commissioners. So our job is to help our clients do declarations. Now, one of my colleagues here, he will help this client to do his declaration or her declaration. At that point of time, he is providing information to the client from the perspective of an information expert. He is supposed to be a specialist in providing information. And suddenly that role flips, because then he becomes an oath commissioner to this client. And that person declares in front of him and signs it off. That is something, I guess somebody spoke to this fact as well. Our concern in Peel and Halton has been, how do we see this whole relationship turning into organizational liability? Believe me, we approached Ministry of Attorney General. We made a request on behalf of Peel, Halton, all the organizations, and we said, can you provide us some training on the role that oath commissioners do play, or what can they do, what they should not be doing? And they pretty much declined to give any help. In fact, they declined to even tell us that what other resources could be there, except to refer us to that act that which we can pretty.
Which you can study.
Yeah.
So that leaves you in a hard place.
Hard place, yes.
Yeah. Okay, and so, and you sort of alluded to this before, and you just did again. So in terms of the supports that might be helpful to you in helping you do this work better, and you mentioned professional development. Can you tell us more about that, please?
Yeah, I guess identification of legal issues that clients face. I give you one example. Like few years before, Ontario Human Rights Commission, it came up with the code which, let me put it in my own words, which made it a offense to discriminate a newcomer on the basis of lack of Canadian experience, right? Mm-hmm. And we have never seen our clients coming to us saying that we have been discriminated against that. Not because there have not been any violations of the law. For 2 reasons. 1, client doesn't know that this has happened to him. 2, we do not have capacity, or we do not have skills to really delve deep down into their problem and be able to identify that, in fact, this is the issue. This is a great issue. So that I guess this kind of training which will help us, because we are not just providing legal services, or we are not, our range of services or the role that we play is very broad. But still, this piece is very important, and what we would like to see is that there is a opportunity, and it should be an ongoing opportunity because turnover is so huge. Yes. To help us understand what legal issues are and how can we identify that this actually is a legal issue. You can interpret that in terms of any area of law.
That's very helpful to hear from the work we do and many others in this room. So before we wrap up, Jagdeep, anything else you wanted to add and share with the group today?
I guess my feeling is that we have so many legal community organizations and others. We do, as settlement organizations, we do have issues reaching out to legal clinics, and the way they would, I guess there should be a structured platform for these kind of organizations to come together. When I go out and want to say something to my legal clinic, they might perceive my approaching them in a different perspective. But if there is a structured, approach to it, I cite one example if you have time.
Yes.
So long, what has happened is, children aid societies, they are seen as a kind of taboo organizations within settlement organizations because general perception is they will take your children away. Then our Peel Region's Children Aid Society, they approached us. I sit as a co-chair to Service Delivery Network, which is a community-driven initiative by Peel Newcomer Strategy Group, our local immigration partnership. And we came together, we began to involve settlement sector with Children Aid Society. And then and that pilot project was, it was initiated at the Refugee Reception Center. We said, let's work together through PMC, Children Aid Society and Refugee Reception Center, focusing on Syrian refugees. That how can we work together to ensure that there is less incidence of children being reported to CS, because there was a model that was done in London, Ontario. Incidence of children from Muslim background being reported to CS was way higher compared to other communities. And once this model was created where a community organization will come in the middle of CAS and the families, because they have lots of trust in the community organization. So that incidence of Muslim children being reported to London CAS dropped down by about 80%. So we wanted to take advantage from that learning, and we created this test pilot, which we are currently working on, and our report on that relationship will be ready by end of December. I guess that will throw lots of light on how settlement sector, because if we look at Brampton, one of city in Peel region, 70% people are non-visible, visible minorities. So it's a kind of majority, and we are sitting outside of the loop of that understanding where still many organizations provide services from Eurocentric approach. So we need to bring that shift, yes. And we need settlement organizations need help in getting connect to mainstream organizations by coming to a point where both sides will know each other better.
That is really helpful to hear. That's part of, I think there's many different initiatives that try and do that, including the plea learning exchange, which is sort of, behind today largely. So, it makes me think that we should be doing a lot more, and I'd like to hear from all of you. We'll have to find a way to make that happen. I'm around all day, but how we can start to facilitate those kinds of connections. Thank you so much, Jagdeep. I can't wait to see your report. I could talk to you for another hour, but thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.